And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we are going to be talking about the NBA Power Rankings. Now, I'm going to go a little bit quicker than I would normally do because we are running low on time for this show segment because I was answering a lot of comments coming in from the chat. Again, it's a pretty active chat going on right now, but let me just go ahead and quickly change the view. Actually, before I do that, there is more questions in the chat. Karudo has one question. So he previously asked, like, what should NBA do about fan behavior? I asked him to be a little more specific, and he said, for example, the Warriors lost. There's some fans that are planning to curse out Steph, Clay, and Draymond in the home games. Now, honestly, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, I am a full believer in that. I don't really think that there's anything that the NBA can do in stopping these fans from doing and behaving this kind of way. But with that in mind, it's like, again, like that's a fault on the fans. That's not something that the NBA has to really fix. And it's like the home fans just need to learn how to behave. And honestly, like when they end up losing because of, like, let's say Curry has a bad game, Clay has a bad game, why'd the lights just go out for no reason? Okay, there we go. Jesus. That was random. Sorry about that. I have no idea why the lights just went out like that, and I have no idea why the brightness is like this right now. Good Lord. Let me just go ahead and fix that. Well, that was random. But regardless, like, again, these are the type of reactions that, like, a lot of these players are actually, like, they're built for. Like, it's expected that you're going to get hecklers, and a lot of the players that play the game, they're expecting to get heckled, and they know how to deal with it. And unless you're, like, someone who's sensitive like Russell Westbrook, I know Westbrook has kicked out a lot of fans because they insulted his name, disrespected his name. But I'm all like freedom of speech, those kind of things. And it's like you're not going to be able to stop someone from saying certain things. You can, however, stop yourself from listening to those kind of things and try to make the situation a bit better or go in your favor. So Corrido, he says, I just don't want fans to get the bright idea to fight a player. Well, usually, I mean, that happened before. Malice at the Palace. They ended up fighting fans. But I digress. So with that, let's go right ahead into the power rankings. And hold on just one second. I'm just going to, like, pull up the article. There we go. So that way every single one of you can see this, right? So you can see the picture of Jalen Green. Obviously, he's a hooper now. I really need to put some respect on his game. But so going into the power rankings, I think the 1 and the 2, they're going to be the Nuggets and the Celtics. They are not going to change whatsoever from the previous power rankings that I've looked at. Go ahead and check out my previous videos if you want to see the power rankings, like, from last week. I do this every single week. So I do think, and if I remember correctly, it was the Thunder that was the 3rd in the power rankings. I think they drop one and they will go down to 4th. And the Bucks will move up to 3rd. And then the Clippers are going to stay in that 5th spot. So I'm only going to do the top 5 now, but we'll see. So the Denver Nuggets, yep, they are the number 1 team. No surprises there. Celtics got to be next. Yep, the Celtics are the 2nd team. No surprises whatsoever. Now the Bucks. Yep, I was right. The Bucks, they ended up moving to 3rd, and that would mean that the Thunder, they should probably move to 4th. So they should be directly after them. Yep, I was absolutely right. The Thunder, they are 4th. And now the 5th one, it's got to be the Clippers, right? Oh, well, excuse me. It probably, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, it probably wasn't going to be the Clippers. I did not expect the Timberwolves to start winning a bunch of these games without their star center in Karl Anthony Towns. Like, Karl Anthony Towns going down with the injury, I thought for sure this team would end up tanking a little bit offensively. But so far, that's not entirely true. I mean, they are average in terms of offensive rating according to this graph right here, according to this number right here. But they're number 1 in defensive rating, and that's really the difference maker. So it goes to show you the value of having Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards, because Anthony Edwards is a really good defender at the perimeter. But having that Rudy Gobert there saves your team. It totally saves your team. And Corrido, he has a lot of things to say in the chat. My friend quit being a Laker fan after the Warriors game because the Laker fans did not show any class. Sorry if we seem weird, just how we were raised, I guess. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's nothing wrong with not being a fan of a certain sports group because of the behavior of that sports group. I mean, if you ask a Dallas Cowboys fan, they might see that as egregious. If you ask a Philly fan, they also might see that as egregious. But normal people who aren't like fanatics, I guess you could say, like that aren't obsessed with teams, they might drift away from a certain environment because of like the crowd reactions and whatnot. So that totally makes sense. And I do understand what you're saying. The Lakers fans, they tend to not have any class whatsoever. They all tend to be relatively spoiled because of the previous championships that the Lakers have won. It's like those previous championships, they're intoxicating to them. And it's like, we were such a good franchise back then. We should have that winning culture now. We need that winning culture now. And it's like now with LeBron on the team, it's just a never-ending cycle with these Laker fans. It's like, oh, at first the team is like, this is how the cycle for being a Lakers fan goes. And I'm going to bring this back up in just a minute. But this is the cycle for a Laker fan. It's team starts in free. Well, okay, I'll start here since that's where the camera is. Team starts in free agency. Oh, we have the best team. We got some of the greatest picks. Team starts to play really, really bad or underperforming. Oh my God, this team is bad. Trade everyone. Trade deadline comes. Okay, we're going to trade Russell. Like, just throwing a name out there. Like, it could be Russell Westbrook or D'Angelo Russell. We're trading him. And then they don't trade him. This team is going to plummet. Then the team starts going on an end season run with LeBron. Oh my gosh, this team is so good. This team is great. This team is going to win the championship. They don't win the championship. Reset the entire roster. That's the cycle that usually happens when the Lakers are good under LeBron James. But with that out of the way, we're going to, and again, it's roughly, like, it's not entirely accurate because I only did that in only a few seconds. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm missing. I am a LeBron fan, so I'm obviously, like, I am missing a little bit of details in that, but that was just a skim. So with that out of the way, next has to be the Clippers. What? Okay, the Clippers aren't even top 5, which is, I mean, I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, I'm really not surprised because I'm used to the Clippers. I'm just used to the Clippers being at such a high ranking. But so far, like after this All-Star break, they have not been the best team whatsoever. They have been very, very bad. And they've been very inconsistent, and they've been blowing a bunch of leads. Tyronn Lue even said that the identity of the team is that they're soft. When asked of the identity of the Clippers team right now, he says, yeah, we're soft. And that's a really bad thing, like coming from your coach, to say that you are soft. And since the All-Star break, they've been 1-8, which is really, really bad from a team that in the beginning of the season and like when they got Harden and when they went on that winning streak was expected to do a lot more than just lose out in going into the playoffs. This is not good. And actually, wait a minute. I didn't even do the recap of the Clippers game losing to the Pacers. So that is 1-9. So they're 1-9 since All-Star break. And that's really, really bad if you're the Clippers. Like, I said this previously, like before, what can go wrong will go wrong with the Clippers, and that is exactly what's happening right now. What can go wrong is going wrong with them, and that's something that they just cannot. They cannot afford to do that. And Corrido, he said, I had Warriors fans call me okay, I'm not going to say that word, many times, and it's like, I guess name calling is your only attack because you're weak. Okay, yeah, I mean, very inspirational quote right there. So again, that's your prerogative, and that's how you respond to it, and that's how a lot of these players tend to respond to those kind of critiques. They either brush it off or they try to use it to make themselves stronger. But that's And that's usually like, that's the mind of a really good athlete. That is how these athletes, like good athletes, think, because they can handle the pressure. It's not about so much as dealing with it's not so much as like having pressure, but it's how you deal with it. And it's not so much as facing criticism, it's how you deal with the criticism. And that's the make or break with some of these athletes, because it's very strict with the media. Now, Pelicans being 6, again, I am surprised only because I thought the Clippers were going to be here. But after like their recent performance, it's not really that surprising. And the Pelicans, they are one of the teams that don't really get that much talk in the media. Like, if you look right here, the Pelicans are 9-2. None of the media outlets have been talking about the Pelicans. They've mainly been focused on the Houston Rockets and how they're sort of edging up on Golden State Warriors. Now, oh my gosh, the Clippers aren't even in the top 10. So the Mavericks, they moved up from 8 all the way to 7th. That means the Phoenix Suns should probably stay at 9, right? And the Clippers should probably be at 8. Oh, never mind. The Phoenix Suns, they move all the way up to 8. And let me see. The Clippers, they moved down to 9. So that is a very, very huge drop for the Clippers from the last time that I saw them in and this is very odd. Like they went the Clippers get no love from the power rankings. They went straight down every single time, just down, 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 every single time. Now, the Pelicans, they are that weird team where they flip-flop. One moment they might be the 6th seed, and the next moment they might be the 12th in the power rankings. And it's like, it's very weird. So, Knicks, please. Yes! I was right, the Knicks. Finally, they got rid of those accusations that Cleveland was better than New York, and they put the Knicks above them. Now, obviously, this is great. Like I really like these power rankings. I was just caught off guard with the Clippers. I didn't expect them to take such a big tank, given how a lot of these teams, like I feel like they should have taken a huge tank in terms of the rankings, but they didn't. So I was being a little generous towards the Clippers. But since we do have a little bit more time, let's go right ahead and continue on with this segment. And as I do that, I want to end the segment right now because I see the Miami Heat are 11th. Why? They've been doing nothing but, they've been flip-flopping. They've been doing nothing but losing most of the time when I see them. Like, what? Why? I do not agree with this whatsoever. I think the Orlando Magic should be a lot higher in these rankings because that does not make sense. Miami Heat being on there, you call me a Miami Heat hater if you want. I do not care. Playoff Jimmy is a myth. Plain and simple. And the fact that they're ranking it so high. The Magic, they're the 5th seed. And the Miami Heat, they just turned to the 7th seed. Like, are you serious? No. I'm not putting a 7th seed over the 5th seed. I'm not doing it. And I get why they're over the Pacers. Because the Pacers, they're only good at offense, while the Miami Heat is relatively good at both ends of the floor. I do not agree with this whatsoever, though, because the Orlando Magic, they're getting snubbed really hard. Now, they better be next. Nope, Cleveland is next. Again, not a big fan of Cleveland whatsoever. This team doesn't even have Donovan Mitchell. Why are they ranked so high? I really do not understand why they're ranked this high. But they should be higher than the Heat. That I'll tell you for sure. They should definitely be higher than the Miami Heat. Even the Kings. The Kings should be a better team than the Miami Heat. Like, are we serious? I'm going to go check the standings real quick because, again, they flip-flop between the East and the West. So, right now, the Kings are 6th in the Western Conference. And Domantas Sabonis, again, broke the record for most consecutive double-doubles in a season. It's amazing how he wasn't selected for the All-Star game. It's also ridiculous how De'Aaron Fox wasn't selected for the All-Star game. But this is a great team. How are they in a very competitive conference? And they're the 6th seed. They're still a higher seed in a much more competitive conference than the Miami Heat. Why are they ranked so low, and why haven't they moved? That does not make any sense to me. This list is bad. I said the list was good in the beginning, but now I'm saying it's bad. Like, the Kings, they should be, in all honesty, they should be here. Like, I will continue. I will completely move the Clippers down to here, and then the Knicks down to here. But the Miami Heat should not be that high. That is appalling. That is disrespectful. And the Orlando Magic, they're only 14th. Why? And I'm just gonna say it because I like my jingle. Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. It does not make any sense why this team is ranked so low. And this team is ranked lower than the Kings, which makes sense. They lost to the Kings the other day, but they blew out the Magic on Thursday. They blew out the Hornets, then they blew out the Raptors, and twice. Like, this team, they literally beat a playoff team in the Pelicans. And obviously, like, I understand they lost to the Kings, but that was a really close game. The final score was 109 to 107. That's a really close game, and it's not that bad to lose to a playoff team if it's a really close game like that. And what are the Lakers doing so high? What? The Lakers, they jump all the way from 17 to all the way up to 15th from out of nowhere. Did not expect them to make that jump whatsoever. And what's next? Like they're ranked higher than the Pacers. Honestly, they did beat the Pacers recently, so I do see why that ranking is there. But hold on, maybe the Houston Rockets are ranked below. Right now, I don't really see why the Sixers are ranked higher than Houston. Yep, Houston is right underneath that. I mean, I get it, the Sixers, they are in the playoffs, but again, this playoff spot it's dwindling away. They were the 4th seed at one point, if you remember in the beginning of the season. Now they dropped all the way down to the 8th seed. We still don't have Joel Embiid. And Santos Reddy's in the chat. Why am I the only one watching? I have no idea why you're the only one watching. Who knows? Now, Corrido in the chat, he just asked a question. Do I think Herb Jones gets re-signed or no? Now, again, that's a little bit of a tricky one. You have to see what other moves like the team is going to make on offense, but not on offense, excuse me, but during free agency. I'm so used to talking about offense, but no, I don't think that Herb Jones gets moved. I really don't think he gets moved. I think they will end up trying to re-sign him. He is a very important piece to the he's a very important piece to the Pelicans and their roster. So again, I don't really see like the need to move him unless he asks for a lot more money than he deserves, which is what a lot of these athletes are tending to do. But I think he stays. I think he definitely stays. He's a pretty good role player. Like, again, pretty good. So, but and he's gotten better. Like, from when he got drafted, he started averaging 9 points per game, right? Then the next season, 9.8, and now this season, 11. So if that trajectory keeps going like the way it's going, I don't see no reason why they would want to walk from him. But that's my opinion. Now, the Sixers, they should move all the way down to, like, here. That's where the Sixers should go. And Golden State is just fine where they're at right now, and I hope they stay that way. The Bulls, they're a mediocre team, definitely should stay like that. And let's just go over to the last team and see if the Pistons are ranked last. Yep, the Pistons are ranked last, even though I really don't agree with that. I think the Wizards, they are the worst team in the NBA, and they're the team that should be ranked 30th. Surprised to see Charlotte all the way down here. That's honestly funny. But yeah, those are the power rankings over in this, the updated power rankings, excuse me, Jesus Christ. But other than the top 10, it's bad. I do not agree with everything below the top 10. I do not agree with it at all. The top 10, totally fine. Like, I totally understand why all these teams are here and why they're in the spots that they're at. The jump that the Milwaukee Bucks had, it's a little bit suspect, but, you know, it's expected when you end up winning a bunch of games, and the fact that the Thunder have also been losing those games. So, again, surprising a little bit, but not really that surprising in hindsight, especially when the Bucks blew out the Thunder in the previous game that they played. And did they have? Yes, they had everybody. They had everybody on the roster. So again, it just showed, like, this team just showed them that they were the better team that night. So What about now? He's asking me about Trae Young. Corrido in the chat. He's asking me, what about Trae Young? Now, what about Trae Young? Like, do I think he gets re-signed? Honestly, it really depends on, like, if there are other teams that offer him a much better deal. Like, I could see him joining the Spurs to team up with Victor, and I think he's the best point guard to run pick and rolls with Victor. That's my opinion on it, but because so far, his career on the Hawks, it's been very mediocre. And he was able to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals one year, but then they haven't really seen much success after that one playoff run. And it's like, okay, why am I going to stay with the team if we just keep regressing instead of trying to go to a new team where we could probably have a better chance of competing, especially if he joins Victor and operating pick and rolls. Trae Young, I think he's one of the most underrated point guards the league has ever seen. I don't, he barely gets talked about. And it's up to the point where it's like, okay, he averages 29 points per game and 12 assists. That's basic. And it's like, what? 29 points and 11 assists is basic? Now, obviously, this is just like a broad generalization. Those aren't his exact numbers that he's averaging over the season, because it's somewhere around like 26 points per game and then 11 assists around that number. But regardless, those are some really good stats, and those are stats that he produces very well. He should have been an all-star this year, but he wasn't. He was a reserve, and I don't agree with Damian Lillard being picked over him at all, considering how Damian Lillard literally peaks him in every single stat. Yes, it's 26 points per game, but again, 10 assists. Like, that is something that's not easy to mimic in this league. Now, Corrido, he says, if Trae Young goes to the Spurs, I'm going to say Greg Popovich stole a player, and he is a Greg Popovich fan. I mean, yeah, like, obviously, like, it's going to be like Greg stole the player because Greg wants him on the team. But, I mean, it's really whatever, because, like, that's if they could get him, because they also have to worry about paying him, and they also have to worry about everybody else on the Spurs roster, because the team is already not that good defensively on the perimeter. Having Victor obviously, like, increases the defensive rating, but they need to get a lot more players and a lot more role players on the team before they can bring in that other star. Unless they can bring in that star immediately. In which case, yeah, I could see them getting Trae Young. I really could see them, because I think Trae is just tired of Atlanta. Like, he likes Atlanta. I'm not saying that he doesn't like Atlanta and he doesn't like staying there. But he also likes winning. And if the team isn't really winning or isn't a good spot to win when he is there, it could just be seen as a waste of time, in my personal opinion. And I don't think any guard who produces like this and consistently like this is going to want their time wasted. And yes, Trae Young is better than Tyrese Halliburton. He is better than Tyrese Halliburton. You guys can fight me to the death with that one. Trae Young is better than Tyrese Halliburton. But I digress. So with that, that's the end of the power rankings. And I think that unless there's any more questions in the chat, you might as well go ahead and ask them now before I end the show segment, because that's it. We are out of time for this show segment, and that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. And we also invite you to please use the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment, or the link that is in the description. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. Once again, the link is GSMCPodcast.net. And it doesn't really look like there's any more questions in the chat. So with that out of the way, that is the end of the show. I am your host, Nelson. And as always, take care. Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna.